Have you ever had a neighbor who seemed like they arrived from some alternate universe? You know the type. The one who believes the planet spins for their convenience and your property is simply an extension of their personal driveway. Well, settle in, because I've got a story about a farmer who dealt with exactly that kind of person. Only this one comes with a twist that's deeply satisfying and just a little sharp. Our story opens on a wide, breathtaking farm. The kind you picture when you think of peace. Rolling hills stretching into the distance, contented cows grazing lazily, and a long private gravel road winding its way up to the farmhouse. That road wasn't just a path. It was something the farmer took pride in. Unfortunately, it was also about to become his biggest problem. Enter the new neighbor. Let's call her Karen. Karen lived a short distance away and quickly realized that if she cut across the farmer's private road, she could shave a grand total of 2 minutes off her commute. 2 minutes. For most people, that's barely enough time to scroll through songs on Spotify. But to Karen, apparently it was a life or death situation. The farmer, a reasonable, level-headed man, started noticing her SUV blasting down his gravel road, throwing dust into the air and frightening his livestock. At first, he assumed it was an honest mistake. We've all made a wrong turn thanks to GPS and ended up somewhere awkward, so he let it go. But then it happened again, and again, and again. Every single morning, like clockwork, Karen's SUV would roar down the road at reckless speeds, not just slightly over the limit. We're talking full rally car mode on a stretch of gravel never meant for that kind of driving. The farmer knew he couldn't ignore it forever. He wasn't looking for a confrontation. He just wanted safety, peace, and for his chickens to cross the road without risking their lives. So he tried the simplest solution first. He put up a sign. A large, clear, polite sign. Private road, no trespassing. That should have solved it, right? Wrong. Karen treated the sign as if it were written in hieroglyphics. She sped right past it. If anything, she seemed to drive faster, almost as if daring him to object. Plan A had failed. Time for Plan B. One morning, as she prepared for her daily gravel Grand Prix, the farmer stepped out and flagged her down. Calmly and respectfully, he explained, "Ma'am, this is a private road. It's not safe for you to be speeding through here. I've got animals and family around. Please use the public road." He stayed composed. He kept his tone polite. Surely, face-to-face communication would clear things up. Karen rolled her eyes. She sighed dramatically and snapped something along the lines of, "I'm in a hurry. It's a shortcut," as if he were the one inconveniencing her. Then she stomped on the gas, spraying gravel across his boots and vanishing in a cloud of dust. The farmer stood there stunned. The sign hadn't worked. The conversation hadn't worked. It became painfully clear that Karen believed she was entitled to use his land however she pleased. Weeks passed. He added more signs, bigger ones. If angry face emojis had been available in hardware stores, he might have tried those too. Nothing changed. He considered installing a gate, but the road was long, and opening and closing it constantly would complicate his own farm operations. He felt trapped, a law-abiding man on his own property, being harassed by someone who simply didn't care. His blood pressure climbed. His patience thinned to almost nothing. Lying awake at night, he'd think, what's the next logical step when logic clearly doesn't work? That's when he remembered something from his experience with heavy equipment and property security. Something effective, something unmistakable, something spiky. An idea began forming. Legal, direct, impossible to ignore. He researched local property laws carefully. As long as the measures were clearly marked and remained on his land, he was within his rights. Decision made. If Karen wouldn't respect words, perhaps she'd respect cold steel. That weekend, the farmer purchased commercial-grade spike strips, not flimsy gadgets, the heavy-duty kind that sent a very clear message. Do not proceed. He installed them across a stretch of his private road just beyond the bend, the kind where a speeding driver wouldn't notice until braking was no longer an option. But here's the key. He didn't just lay them down and hope. He added a new sign before the bend. Large, bold, impossible to miss. Warning. Severe tire damage. Spike strips ahead. Private property. Then he added another identical sign farther up the road. There was zero ambiguity. Anyone entering that road would see not one, but two explicit warnings. He wasn't being malicious. He was offering one final opportunity to turn around. The stage was set. Now he waited. Monday morning arrived. The farmer went about his chores in the barn, but his ears were tuned sharply to the road. At 8:15 a.m., right on schedule, he heard it. The familiar growl of Karen's engine charging down the gravel far too fast. He held his breath. Then it came. Pop, 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 pop. For sharp explosions in rapid succession, the unmistakable sound of tires surrendering instantly. That was followed by the grinding screech of metal rims dragging across gravel, and finally, silence. He stepped outside. There it was, Karen's once pristine SUV now sagging awkwardly, all four tires utterly destroyed. It looked like it had challenged a metallic porcupine and lost. Karen climbed out, her expression frozen in disbelief before morphing into blazing fury. She screamed. She stomped. She yanked out her phone and started shouting into it. Minutes later, another siren approached, this time from the police. Two officers arrived, calm but clearly confused. Karen rushed toward them, wildly gesturing and pointing at the farmer, who was walking over with quiet composure. He destroyed my car. He set a trap. Arrest him. I'm suing him for everything, she shrieked. The officers listened patiently. Then they turned to Farmer. Officer, he said evenly, this is my private property. I repeatedly asked her not to trespass or speed. She ignored those requests. Please come take a look. He guided them to the first warning sign, then the second, even larger one near the spike strips. He showed them the no trespassing notices she'd been disregarding for weeks. The officers examined everything carefully, the signage, the placement, the strips, the flattened tires. One officer turned to Karen. Ma'am, did you see these signs? Her face drained of color. Well, I was in a hurry. I didn't think he was serious. The officer's tone remained steady as he explained that she was trespassing. The property owner had issued multiple verbal and written warnings. The spike strips were clearly marked. The farmer had followed the law to the letter. The conclusion was simple. The farmer was not in trouble. Karen, however, received a hefty trespassing citation. She was also responsible for the tow truck and the cost of replacing four very expensive SUV tires. The officers informed her that if she returned again, the consequences would escalate. As the tow truck hauled away her crippled vehicle, she shot the farmer a glare sharp enough to sour milk. But there was nothing she could do. Her entitlement had blinded her. She had ignored every warning, figuratively and literally, and paid the price. From that day forward, the road was peaceful. No more dust clouds. No more speeding engines. The chickens crossed safely. Calm returned to farm. Sometimes politeness is enough. Sometimes boundaries need to be clear and sharp. This was what happened when unstoppable entitlement met immovable property rights. The farmer hadn't wanted conflict, but when pushed, he chose a solution that was precise, firm, and completely legal. So what do you think? Was his response too extreme or entirely justified? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story of satisfying justice, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.